Hi gang, welcome back to the channel. It is Kay, your spiritual witch, your astrologer, numerologist and all-round friend. So I've been meaning to do this little mini series on some of the personal planets in astrology for the longest time, mainly as someone requested a information or video on the planet Saturn, which I will do. Now if you want to skip this part of the video, if you want to head to finding out more about Mars, if you want to know what Mars means in the different houses, if you want to know what Mars means in the different signs, then check the description box. Everything will be timestamped from there. But this video on Mars has kind of come around in divine timing because Mars is about to move into a great sign where he truly belongs on the 25th of May at 12:17 a.m. GMT. This is my local time. It might be the day after for you, or it could be the day of the 25th itself. It really does depend where you are in the world. So I thought I'd just give you an update. And I've also posted the videos on a pick a card reading. There should be a pick a card reading on what's going on with this transit with Mars and some other stuff. If you check the description box, you'll find all the videos, all the links, everything there. So I'll just crack on with this. So why am I doing this video on Mars? It is key that we all understand a bit about Mars. Mars is a very important planet, okay? He is one of our personal planets in astrology, along with the Sun, the Moon, Venus and Mercury. Me, myself as an astrologer, I would also include the planet Pluto. And that is because Pluto is such a key planet. He can show us how and where we can transform in our lives ourselves. He's like a planet of the soul, you could say, a bit like Neptune. But for the purposes of this video, I'll just stick with Mars. So in a birth chart, he will show you what your motivation is in life. He will show you who even your enemies are. Mars can actually show up as an enemy in your birth chart, depending on where he's placed. He will show you areas of your life that generally you are prepared to go to war to. As a person, like you're prepared to do war over this particular part of your life. This is where you're going to fight, this is where you're going to stand up for yourself, and this is where you may have some challenges. Mars also represents the person's express this depending on the sign that he's under. He will show your sex drive, the kind of sex that you like and that you enjoy. Hence why when astrologers do synastry astrology, which is putting two charts together and seeing if people are compatible, we place a heavy focus on the planet Mars, because this will tell you a lot about how two people are going to get on, whether it's going to be an explosive relationship, which is not a positive explosive one, or an explosive one which is very positive, as in they connect well as people. Now if you're female, Mars in your chart can represent the kind of man you'd like, not necessarily the kind of man that you would marry or who your husband is, because that can be shown by your Jupiter, but Mars can give you an indication of the kind of men you like if you're attracted to men. If you are male, then in his chart this will give you an indication of what his ego is like. And generally Mars is a planet, when he's traveling around the universe, when he's doing his thing, generally this is the planet that's going to help us with motivation, with our drive, with ambitions, and most importantly he also brings war, but sometimes it's good war, not always bad war. So why Mars is important in your birth chart is because it's going to show you how you, or another person, if you're looking at another chart, how this person manages their anger. It will tell you if you're sexually compatible, as I've mentioned, and it will determine any conflict that you might have. Also, when you look at Mars in your birth chart, he can show you where in your life, how in your life, and when, if you use astrology with timing, if you do predictive astrology, where you might get some kind of conflict. So by this, what I mean is, if you have an event happen in your life and your Mars was activated, if you go back in time doing astrology with timing and kind of manipulating the charts, you can see if that event that happened in your life, was it Mars that kicked it off? So that's what I mean by timing and where you would go to war. Now the sign that he is under, this will tell you a lot about you, how you like sex, how you manage your anger, all this kind of stuff that I mentioned. And we're going to go through the signs as well and see what Mars will be like in each sign as we go through the video. On a day-to-day basis, outside of a birth chart, now why Mars is so key, and one of the reasons why I've decided to do this video now when he's about to switch signs, is because he influences so heavily what goes on in the world. He can influence us as well, how motivated and determined we are. He can motivate us or he can demotivate us. He can also help us to achieve. And now all this is depending on where Mars will fall in your chart based on whenever he switches signs, or depending on what sign he's currently in. If you were to put the charts together, you can see what he's doing to your personal birth chart and what he's doing to you. But ultimately, Mars can be quite a supportive planet. So he can show you when he switches signs, like he's about to do next week, where you could be focusing in your life. Or in another way to put it, how he is supporting you to focus in your life. And so if you check the pick a card reading, you'll see the main theme of it is what should you be focused on and what is Mars supporting you with now that he's moving into a new sign. Now, as mentioned, when he is activated in your personal chart as well, this will give you a flavor of what's to come. So depending on what sign Mars is moving into and what sign your own Mars is under, if he's activated in any way, this can give you a flavor of what's to come. Now, a few fun facts before we get into the signs and what he means in this house and that sign. Few fun facts about Mars. Okay, so starting from the sun, he is the fourth planet away. So we've got Mercury, Venus, Earth, then Mars. He is one of the closest to us here, and that's why we feel him, you know, like when he switches signs or when he does something in the sky, depending on what he's doing, some of us or a lot of us may feel him in some way in our life. He goes at 14.5 miles per second when he speeds around the sun. He's roughly 4,000 miles wide. He's a very hot planet as well, roughly 81 degrees in temperature, and he does retrograde, but he doesn't retrograde that often, so it's like once every 2 years roughly, you can say. And for 2022, at the time of me recording this video, he doesn't start to retrograde until the end of this year, until October, and his period is normally for about 80 days. Now, quick note about Mars in retrograde. So I mentioned to you that Mars can really help push you or drive you or motivate you and put you in a direction. So obviously when he retrogrades, and generally speaking in astrology, when planets retrograde, they tend to be bringing us back to something depending on where they're retrograding in our own chart. And so this is what Mars will do. So once he's propelled you forward and motivated you and supported you and helped you with this and helped you with that, he's going to then turn around and go, okay, let's double check that we got that all correct, and let's double check that we're happy with that, and he will retrograde and he will bring you back to something to be remotivated with again. Now, some signs in the zodiac have real profound impacts on this particular planet. Some will hold him back, some will give him strength, some will actually excel his energy. So he will be like Mars on steroids, and that's what we're going to look at next. Now, quick, another fun fact, if you have Mars and Venus in your chart in the same sign, then typically speaking, generally speaking, without looking at anybody's chart, you could say that you are a person who sees love and sex pretty much the same. So it means that you don't separate the two. You're not the kind of person who can sleep with someone without feeling any kind of emotional connection with them, or, you know, any kind of love for them. If your Mars and Venus are in separate signs, then obviously you can separate the two. Lucky you, because I'm not one of these people who has my Mars and Venus in separate signs. And, you know, you can just basically go about your business. You can, you know, have this partner, have that partner, and really not feel any way about it, because you don't see love and sex as something that is combined. So think about that. How does that resonate for you? I mean, because Mars is a planet that is close to the Earth, just like Venus, there is a high probability that your Mars and Venus is in the same sign because of how close they are, and, you know, just how astrology works. And they're quite close themselves, with Mars, Earth and Venus. But some of us, and I have come across charts, and I do know people who have it separate, so it does happen. So you let me know, you drop me a comment, let me know how that resonates for you. Right, so moving on, we're going to take a look at how Mars kind of behaves in the different signs and in the different houses. And just for anybody who is not familiar what I mean by houses, I mean the areas of your birth chart, okay? So our first sign of the zodiac is obviously Aries, and I call this placement here the boss. So they're very highly connected. Aries is said to be like the day ruler of Mars. Some astrologers call him the day ruler. I generally just call him the ruler. Now, Aries is obviously the first energy of the zodiac, and so with his energy, it's all about me. It's let's go. It's me first. I'm doing this. This is what I want. Hence why Aries is the, you could say in modern astrology, the ruler for the first house, because it's all about us. Now, the degree at what Mars is at in your personal chart will obviously have an impact on how strong he is. But if you do have Mars in your first sign, in your first house, sorry, not your sign, in your first house, you're probably a pretty self-motivated person, determined, you probably get stuff done. The degree will tell you in which way or how much. But if you have a first house Mars, then generally speaking, you know, self-employment could be a good route for you because you are very self-motivated, and even better if you have him under Mars in your first house, then whew, definitely. So Mars under Taurus, this is what I like to call the grounder, and that's because Taurus is an energy that focuses on things like stability, foundations and strength, okay? And if you put Mars, a planet which is quite erratic, quite forceful, quite me first, quite, you know, I'm going to do this regardless of the outcome, under an energy like Mars, if you under an energy of, sorry, Taurus, if you have this in your chart, Taurus can potentially slow down Mars's craziness, you know. Now, Taurus is the second energy of the zodiac, so he is about let's build something. He rules in modern astrology the second house of life, which is about our finances. And if you have Mars here under this sign, either or, generally speaking, Mars at later degrees into Taurus, like 22 to 29 degrees, we call this terms in astrology, and it's slightly strengthened. So if you do have Mars under Taurus, regardless of the house, but at later degrees, then your Mars is slightly strengthened. Now, Mars in the second house, but under a different sign, for example, this is a focus on money. So you could be someone who's very motivated by money, values, morals, ethics. These things are very important to you. And in this life incarnation, if you have Mars in your second house, regardless of sign, I would say as an astrologer, you're here to make some kind of money in this life. How you make it and how well you do it is another thing, because the sign that your Mars is under will give that indication. But generally speaking, Mars in the second house, you're here to make some money. So go out and make it. Make sure that you do it. So Mars in Gemini, if you have Mars in Gemini in your own chart or someone you know, I call this as an idea generator placement. And this is because Gemini is a very sociable sign. It does change its mind a lot, and that's to do with, you know, the duality of the sign with the twins, but it deals with communication and teamwork, okay? So if you have this kind of placement with your Mars under Gemini, you could be a person that comes up with great ideas, great thoughts, and you're really good at teamwork generally, or even working in a team is something that quite motivates you a lot. Now, Gemini is the third energy of the zodiac, and for me, this is a sign that's about, you know, let's get out, let's make friends, let's be sociable. And depending on the degree that you've got Mars at under Gemini, it will determine how Mars functions. But generally speaking, to not get too technical into the astrology stuff, you know, and to not confuse anyone, if you have Mars in Gemini at later degrees, so 22 to 29, this is what we call terms, and it means that this is a slightly strengthened planet. So Mars under Gemini at later degrees, it will be slightly strengthened. If you have it a bit earlier, say 11 to 20, around here, this can indicate with this placement with Mars under Gemini that this planet can bring some worry to the person in this area of life. And the area of life will be wherever Mars is. So say, for example, you have Mars under Gemini in your second house, yeah, at say, I don't know, 15 degrees. That means that generally your finances might be an area of worry for this person who had that example placement. Yeah, so that's what I mean by worry. So Mars in the third house, again, depending on the sign, you could be someone who's very, very motivated by what is around you. Things like your extended family, education, your routines, because this is what the third house of life in astrology covers. But basically, if you have Mars in your third house, regardless of the sign, you're here to make a change with or in education or social media or communications. You know, you could be very, very motivated and good, or a good fit to do this, to make some kind of educational change or impact in that field. So if that's you, then I hope you do manage to do that in this lifetime, because that would be great to make some kind of educational change. Okay, so Mars in the fourth house, or Mars in the fourth sign, which would be Cancer, for me, this gives an energy of I want to care, but, I really want to help you, but. And the reason why I say this is because Cancer is the opposite sign of Capricorn. And this means that Mars in Cancer is in what we call like a fall, or it's not in a great placement. And to break this down even further, to make it more simple for you, Capricorn is the sign that is going to really exalt Mars's energy, and you'll see this explained a bit more when I get to the Capricorn sign, or you can check the timestamps and you can click there and hear more about it. But Capricorn is that sign that will exalt it, and this means that Mars is going to be at his best. Other than being in Aries, in the sign that he is closely associated with, it would be Capricorn. That would be the next best placement. So if you put Mars then in a sign that is opposite to a sign that would really exalt him and make him really get out there and be at his best, obviously he's not going to be in such good shape. So this is what we mean in astrology by saying that Mars in Cancer can be a bit tricky, or it's in fall, or it's not in great shape. Now, I don't want anybody to worry about this if you are someone who has your Mars under the sign of Cancer, but it's a good thing to be aware of, and depending on what area of life or house of life your Mars under Cancer falls, it can give you an indication where you might have difficulty with, Mars's energy. That could show up in your chart. But generally speaking, Cancer is about care, nurture, motherly love and intuition and all these great and wonderful things. But when you get an energy like Mars come along, who is a bit more explosive, and you put him in a sign that he's not very good for, like that deals with this, you can have maybe difficulty with emotions, difficulty with motherly love, difficulty with being caring and nurturing. Like you might be motivated to, but you might find it a bit of a challenge. So that's one thing to note about Mars under Cancer. Now his degree, what degree he is at in Cancer, again, will also give a lot of information about this and about a person who has this placement, and it's deeply complex when it comes to the sign of Cancer. So for the purposes of this video, I'm not going to go into detail about it, because it would be too much and I'd have to look at individual charts and give you some real life examples and so forth. But just know that this can be a little bit of a difficult placement for Mars, to express itself, purely because it is the opposite sign of the sign that will basically send Mars through the roof when he is at his absolute best. Okay, so moving on to Mars in Leo. So I call this my Braveheart position, and this is because, Leo is that sign of being bold, being happy. He teaches us to indulge in life and not feel guilty about it, but he's also really fearless. So if you have an energy like Mars under Leo, he is temporarily in a strengthened position, which means, Leo will accept him. He'll have him there, they'll work together, they're great, they'll work together in partnership, but he'll feel more like an associate, you could say, or a friend that's not a close friend, but they'll work together. So Leo is the fifth energy of the zodiac, which is about love, sex, dating, risk-taking, and enjoyment generally. And the degree that your Mars is at in this sign will obviously tell you how your Mars would function, and it would say a lot. But later degrees, from about 20 to 29, in this particular sign, that's when Mars can really be strengthened under Leo. So if you have your Mars in your fifth house, regardless of the sign, you could be someone who's really motivated by the fun side of life, relationships, children, creativity, being a risk taker. And generally speaking, with a Mars in the fifth house, your creativity could really change your life. It could be really life-changing for you. So do reflect on that. If you're someone with a fifth house Mars, drop me a comment. How do you feel about creativity? Do you think that it's changed you? Has it helped you in any way? So this is Mars in the fifth house and Mars under the sign of Leo. Okay, so moving on now, we've got Mars in the sign of Virgo. So I call this my let me help you with that placement. And I do think this is a really nice placement. This is a nice placement to have Mars. This is the sign that's typically about, perfection, the fine details of things, planning, organization, but most importantly, most astrologers, if not all, I'd say 99.9999% of us would associate the energy of Virgo with serving others and being of help and service. So when you put a planet like Mars here in this particular sign, he too, just like with Leo, is temporarily in a strengthened position. Like Virgo will work well with him, the energies will go together, they'll accept each other. He won't feel like, best friends, more like an associate, but he will do well under this kind of energy. Now, Virgo is the sixth energy of the zodiac, and this is the energy that gives 100% to every task, perfection on nothing else. And I can deeply relate to this, having a Virgo ascendant. This sign really gives everything that it has. It's an analytical sign, it's organized, and also, as I said, known as the helper. Now, the degree that your Mars under Virgo is will determine how Mars functions, and it will tell you a lot more. But generally speaking, if you have Mars in the sixth house, then regardless of the sign, you could be someone who's very motivated by how you earn money and giving services to others, like helping others, healing disputes. You could be someone who's quite a pet person, you could like pets. Health could also be quite important to you. And generally speaking, with Mars in the sixth house, I'd say this could be someone who feels great pleasure from helping those that are in need. Even if they don't know them very well, it's just the act of kindness that they really enjoy. So if you're someone who has your Mars in your sixth house, jobs that are in the helping profession could really serve you. Nursing, any kind of caring role, that could really serve you if you have Mars here. And so yeah, if you have Mars in your sixth house, let me know. Drop me a comment. Do you have Mars in Virgo somewhere else? How does this resonate for you? Drop me a comment and let me know. Okay, moving on to Mars in Libra. Now, I call this my tug of war placement, and I don't mean this like in a negative way. It's just generally how, Mars and Libra energy are, which can create this. So, Libra is the sign that's typically about non-conflict with others. Okay, it's about balance, and most importantly, Libra is that energy who is prepared to place others first, yeah, over and above their own needs. It's about being sociable, love, and mental stimulation. This is a very intelligent energy, this sign. Now, Libra is the opposite sign to the ruler of Mars itself. And this is what is key, and this is what gives it that tug of war kind of placement. It could be quite difficult if you're someone who has your Mars under Libra. So we would say that this placement is Mars in determinant in someone's birth chart. And it is because, opposite sign. The first house is about me, 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 and no one else but me. The seventh is about how we interact with other people and others in our life. So because they see life differently, because they behave differently, you could say, this is why, if you have Mars under Libra, you may find it difficult in life. Like you may struggle with your motivations and what you want to do versus, what other people want you to do, or putting other people first. That's generally what I mean by this tug of war. It's not negative, it's just something to be mindful of, because Mars under Libra, as I said, the planet, essentially in astrology we would consider this like damaged. The planet can be damaged, like the energy of Mars can be damaged, and I don't want anybody to worry about that or anybody to feel bad about that because of the choice of words that I'm using. But when I say damaged, I don't mean like unusable or you need to chuck it away, or not that you could, but that it's a very negative thing. It just means that the energy and the light of of Mars itself is kind of dimmed by Libra's energy. Like they find it difficult to find that common ground because they approach life so differently. So Libra is the seventh energy of the zodiac, and as I said, it's about being very giving, about loving, about being balanced, and it's very intelligent. And Aries is completely different from this. Aries is all about me. Aries is me first, and it's not typically an energy that is worried about balance or whether things are fair. They just want what they want. Now, how Mars is in Libra will depend on the degree that Mars is into the sign of Libra. That will give you some indication on what's going on with your chart or with you or with the person that you know. But generally speaking, if you have Mars in the 7th house, regardless of the sign, doesn't matter, but if you have Mars here, you could be someone who is motivated by serious bonds with others. Things like marriage, love, creating businesses. These are things that could be quite motivational and quite key to you in life, especially how you connect with others. If you have him here in the 7th house under, I'd say, any other sign but Libra. So yeah, this is Mars in the 7th. This is Mars under Libra. Let me know how this resonates for you. Do you have your Mars in Libra? Do you have your Mars in your 7th? Does any of this ring true for you? Drop a comment below and let me know. Okay, we're going to move on now to Mars in Scorpio. This is one of my favourite placements for Mars, and astrologically speaking, this is a very good placement for Mars as well. And I don't know if many people know this unless you're actually an astrologer or you're someone who studied it a lot, but Scorpio was, the traditional ruler of Mars. It was, or I should say the other way around. Mars was the traditional ruler of the sign Scorpio before the planet Pluto was discovered. So this is why if you are someone or you know someone who has their Mars under Scorpio, it's a very favorable place and it's very suited to this sign. The degree that you or the person who has Mars under Scorpio has it at will tell you a lot about their personality, and obviously this will vary for everyone. Now, if you have Mars in your 8th house, which is, you could say, Scorpio's kind of house in modern astrology, you could be someone who is very motivated or interested in the occult, astrology, witchcraft, true crime stories, all the things that Scorpio vibes with. You could find that quite motivational and interesting for you. Life, generally speaking, and the dark and unusual side of life might interest you and motivate you as well as a person. You might have a real appreciation for life and death if you have your Mars here. But generally speaking, with an 8th house Mars, you really have the ability to transform yourself and no one else. That is the biggest message, I think, from having Mars in the 8th house. Without looking at anybody's personal chart, without, seeing what else Mars is doing and how it's interacting with other planets, I'd say this placement here is a real sign from the universe, or a real sign from, when you incarnated into this life, if you believe in that really you will transform yourself. You can't rely on anybody else. It's going to be down to you, and you could have a very explosive, in a good way, life if you are able to get hold of this and transform yourself to your highest good. So Mars in Scorpio is a very, very good look. I love it as an astrologer. I love it, when I come across people with their Mars in Scorpio as well. And generally, yeah, this is a really good placement. So if you have that, then this is a good thing, and lucky you, I would say, lucky you. So let me know if you have your Mars in Scorpio. Drop a comment. How does this vibrate for you? Do you resonate with any of this? Do you have an interest in any of the underworld or the darker side of life that Scorpio deals over? So let me know. How does this resonate for you? Okay, so Mars in Sagittarius, I call this my free-spirited kind of placement. And this is because Sagittarius as an energy rules over freedom, adventure, everything that's foreign, higher education, publishing, sports, spirituality, and how a person views life, generally speaking. So if you have a Mars under Sag at later degrees, probably from about 22 to 29 degrees, this is what we would call a slightly strengthened Mars. So this is a good placement, a good and favorable placement. Now, Sagittarius is the 9th energy of the zodiac, and it's about what I believe in life. Where do I find myself and my learning in life? It's that higher self kind of energy. So these kind of things could really interest you in life if you have Mars in Sagittarius, or even if you have Mars in your 9th house, regardless of what sign it's under. Things like traveling, adventure, learning, especially deep stuff, could really, really, really interest you. And if you are someone who has your Mars in your 9th house, without looking at anybody's chart, but generally speaking, you could really do well by living abroad or away from your birthplace, because this is the house of where we seek adventure, where we seek something different. This is a house of distance, people, places, and things to us. So having Mars here, you know, your motivation, your drive, your ambition, and how well you do could all be really fed if you are in a place that's different to where you were actually born. And if you have Mars under Sagittarius in your ninth house, then whew, definitely, you know, definitely that is such an indication, you could say, without looking at anybody's birth chart, without seeing what other planets are interacting with the person's Mars. If you are someone who has Mars under Sagittarius in your ninth house, I would say really do consider living abroad or moving away from where you were brought up if you haven't already done that. So if you have Mars under Sagittarius, drop me a comment. How does this resonate for you? Are you free spirited? Does any of this ring a bell? If you are someone who has Mars under Sagittarius in your ninth house, if you have like the triple whammy, let me know as well. How does this resonate for you in your chart and in your life so far? Okay, so Mars in Capricorn, the big one. This is what I like to call the best side of me, this placement. And this is because this is where Mars is going to be exalted under this sign. So if you have your Mars in Capricorn, then really and truly, you know, this is such a blessing. You are here to achieve in life, and there is no two ways about it. So Capricorn is a sign that rules over achievement, ambition, direction, careers, maturity, and generally being serious about things. Okay, so you have Mars here. Mars is really going to show the best side of him. The 10th house of life, or the 10th energy of the zodiac, which is Capricorn, his kind of mantra is like, you know, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna get this done, we're gonna do this, this is where I'm going, this is where I'm gonna be famous in life, this is what I'm gonna do, this is what I'm gonna achieve. So if you have a planet like Mars here, this is really gonna help you with that in life. If you have Mars in your 10th house, regardless of the sign, but if you generally have Mars here, you could really be interested in your own achievement or motivated by your own achievement. You could be someone who likes self-development and self-improvement and being the best version of you. You may even be someone who's slightly or very, depending on how much you're willing to admit it, competitive. But not in a negative way, I would like to think, hopefully. But this can be quite a competitive combination of having Mars under Capricorn, especially if you do have it in your 10th house. If you don't have it under Capricorn, but in your 10th house, it still gives an energy of someone who's quite competitive. You'd also be someone who's quite mature, quite serious, quite grounded in terms of how you handle your anger. You know, it could be really reined in by Capricorn's grounding energy. And generally speaking, this is, other than having Mars under the sign of Aries, where he's like naturally, you know, suited to, or Mars under a sign of Scorpio, which is the next sign that he's really suited to, this is probably the next best one, because he is really, really going to show the best side of Mars. As mentioned at the beginning, Mars can be a bit of a, you know, malefic planet. He brings war, he brings destruction, he brings drama, he can bring conflict. But when you get him under a Capricorn energy, it's just such a beautiful thing. You know, all the maleficness about Mars, it doesn't necessarily go away, but it's more focused in a positive and helpful direction. So let me know, do you have your Mars in your 10th house? Do you have your Mars in your 10th house under Capricorn? How does that resonate for you? Anything that I've said? Let me know, where's your Mars if it's here, and if it's in your 10th house, how was this impacted? So Mars under Aquarius is a really beautiful placement, I think, personally, as an astrologer, just generally speaking, and I call this my freedom fighter placement. So Aquarius is that sign that will rule over and fight for freedom, human rights. It's the sign that's about intelligence. It's the eccentric or weird one of the zodiac, and that is not any kind of disrespect to anybody who's an Aquarius, because I am an Aquarius myself, for anybody who doesn't know, and I deeply resonate with that eccentric weird one label that we often have, but this is the sign that vibrates with that. Aquarius is the sign that seeks the truth and nothing but the truth. It has a very no-nonsense attitude, it's a big thinker, and it's deeply compassionate. So if you put a planet like Mars under this energy, I think a person can really achieve great things. So Mars under Aquarius at later degrees, probably from about 22 to 29, this is what we would say in astrology is a Mars that's slightly strengthened in this position. Now, Aquarius is the 11th energy of the zodiac, so it's about show me the facts, what's good for the collective and what's fair, friendships, networks, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And if you have your Mars in your 11th house, regardless of the sign, you could be someone who's deeply motivated and interested in things like human rights, the law, the strange and unusual things about life, facts and data. You could be quite a logical person when it comes to presenting your arguments, and you could be someone who's quite logical when it comes to managing your anger as well, because Mars is about how we manage that. So putting Mars under a sign of Aquarius, this is going to bring out nothing but logic. So you could be someone who manages your anger well in that way. Now, your hopes, your dreams, and your social circle especially may drive you in life and may really motivate you to achieve. And I would say if you are someone who has your Mars under Aquarius, generally speaking, you're here to help shape humanity. And you've got a great job. Mars is our area of motivation, how we're driven in life, and how we get things done. And so if you're able to combine that with the energy of Aquarius, then realistically a lot of great things can happen in the world. So drop me a comment. Do you have your Mars under Aquarius? How does this vibrate for you? How does it resonate? Do you like, human rights? Do you fight for freedom? Do you advocate for things? If you have Mars in your 11th house as well, let me know. Are you motivated by your friendships, your social circle? Do your hopes and dreams really keep you going in life? Is that what motivates you? So give me a comment. Let me know, how does this vibrate for you? But generally speaking, as an astrologer personally, I do like Mars under Aquarius. I think this can, create some great things if you have this placement in your chart. Okay, so finally we come to Mars under the sign of Pisces, and I like to call this, as an astrologer, my passion driver kind of combination. This sign, Pisces, rules over things like dreams, love, emotions, empathy, healing. It's a very deeply spiritual sign, and it is connected with the spirit realm, spirit communication, and I'd say, as an astrologer, a sign that is deeply connected to the third eye as well. So Mars is very well suited to this sign, because it can bring out a person who is very, very motivated in a compassionate way, a very loving way. It can kind of calm down some of the malefic energy that Mars can bring if you put it under a sign like Pisces, which is all about love and care and empathy. But the other thing is, a person who has their Mars under Pisces, it might not be a good look when they get angry, because when they get angry, everything might just come out in a very, very emotional way. That anger will just be like, it will just be out there. Everybody will know about it, everybody will hear about it, and they will be deeply expressive about how they feel emotionally when they are angry. So Mars under Pisces, we do say in astrology as well, is slightly stronger or slightly strengthened when you have it at later degrees. So if your Mars is under Pisces from anything from 22 to about 29, then that could be slightly strengthened. Pisces is the 12th energy of the zodiac, and for me, I associate this sign with, let me love you, I have big dreams, but also I know what you're up to because my third eye is very open. As I said to you, this is quite a spiritual sign. Now, if you're someone who has your Mars in your 12th house, regardless of the sign, you could be someone who's deeply motivated and interested in the spiritual realm. So this is different from being a very spiritual person. This is actually someone who has an interest in spirit communication and communicating with the actual dead itself. So it's not just, learning about spirituality. Things like past lives could interest you as well. Now, working in hospitals, law enforcement, which are all areas that the 12th house of life deals with, and the health profession generally speaking, but health professions or health roles that have a big emphasis on well-being, spirituality, or maybe even mental well-being could be roles that you're good at or suited to or have an enjoyment with, or are called to do in this kind of life incarnation. Energy healing roles as well, so like working with Reiki or any kind of energy work you could be really called to. Now, a Mars in the 12th house to me indicates that basically you're someone who is here to connect with the spiritual realm. You could be here to, be some kind of medium, or you could have mediumistic abilities that you don't know about, or you're here to kind of basically get involved with spirituality, and you could be someone who is here to help respect the dead, or work in roles that could even be to do with that, so funeral directors and things like this. So this is how, you know, a 12th house Mars can play out for me personally, what I think and what I feel when I think of Mars in the 12th house. But if you're someone who has your Mars in your 12th house, drop me a comment, let me know, how does this resonate? Do you have Mars under Pisces as well? You know, what's your Mars like under Pisces? Because I do have my Mars under Pisces, not in my 12th house, but I do have my Mars under Pisces. So you let me know your comments. How does this resonate for you? How does it feel if you are someone, or you know someone who has their Mars under Pisces, or even their Mars in their 12th house? So finally, to close out then, bottom line, when it comes to Mars and the quick 101 on Mars, Mars is a very powerful planet, okay? And we must pay attention to him. And I think that astrologers generally do, some more than others, but generally speaking, the ones that really pay attention to him can really help people and see what's going on in people's charts and generally in the world. When we have things like pandemics, wars, or even law changes, or some kind of all hell breaks loose, you know, in the world, it's a good thing to look at not only what Uranus and Pluto are doing, but also what is Mars doing in the cosmos. You know, Uranus is that planet of unexpected change, a planet that brings rebel behavior, upheaval. It's very eccentric. You know, this is the Aquarius modern ruler. And Pluto, you know, this is the planet of transformation as well. This is the planet of the underworld, the esoteric world, the occult world, witchcraft, drugs, all that kind of stuff. This is closely linked to Scorpio as well, as Scorpio's modern ruler. But we shouldn't just focus on these planets when we have big worldwide events that kind of impact on everything and everyone. We also need to look at what Mars is doing as well. Now, Mars, on a more personal level, when we don't look at it globally and what's going on in the world, can really help you heal. He can help you find your direction in life. He can help you manage your anger. He can help you know what you truly want and even, you know, most importantly, deserve in this life. He can as well indicate if you're sexually as well as personality wise compatible with another person. If you were able to do relationship astrology with two people, this can give you a big indication. If you look at Mars and you look at Venus and how they interact between two people's charts, that will let you know if they're going to hit it off or if they're going to hate each other, or what the vibe might be between the two of them. So where's your Mars? Drop me a comment, let me know. Do you know where your Mars is in your chart? Do you know what sign he's under? There will be a link below. You can get a free birth chart download from my website as well if you don't have one. Check where your Mars is, check what I've said and what you think, and just drop me a comment. Let me know, how does this resonate for you? What has Mars done for you in your life, if anything? Has he helped you in any way, or are you still trying to work out what your Mars is about and how he can serve you in this life incarnation? So I guess I'll catch you in the next video. And do give it a like if something here helped you. Drop me a comment, subscribe if you're new here. And at the time of me posting this, I'm also going to post up a pick a card reading that is based on the transit that Mars is about to make, which will be happening in a few days from me recording this on the 25th of May 2022 at around 12:17 a.m. GMT, that's my local time. He will be moving from the sign that he's currently in, and he will be going into Aries. So remember what I said about Mars under Aries. This is a good look, this is a good placement. So let's see what happens in the world and in your life and my life as we move forward. I'll catch you in the next video.